Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric Jorgensen and I live in Everett, Washington. I'm diverging a bit from how I normally participate in social media because I feel it's important to make my voice heard. I don't normally talk about the leaders of our country publicly. I like to avoid the controversies that come with politics. But I feel that our president has crossed the line. And it is important that I make my voice heard now, or else I fear I will be complicit in the destruction of our democracy. Yesterday, President Trump, from the premises of the White House, continued a long and sustained attack on the institution of voting in our country, with the intent to circumvent the laws of voting in order to claim an illegitimate win of a presidential election. The main thrust of his attacks are directed at the institution of mail-in voting. He has claimed that mail-in voting is corrupt, that the nature of the system tends to corrupt the people who participate in it, and he and his lieutenants have repeatedly claimed that this is a recent innovation in our democracy to have mail-in ballots. All of these claims are demonstrably false. We have had mail-in balloting for well over 100 years. It is a system we understand well. We audit it to make sure that it is secure, and the FBI routinely investigates claims of voter fraud to make sure that the system remains secure. While it's true there have been documented instances of voter fraud, they are vanishingly small. And the reason that there is so little fraud with this form of voting is that it is incredibly difficult to mail in a fake ballot. Let me explain. If you want to successfully cast a fake vote through the mail-in system, you have to accomplish 5 things. The first is you have to find out who is on the state's voter registry and if they have requested a mail-in ballot. Because if you try to vote for someone who does not exist, or you try to cast a vote for someone who has not requested a mail-in ballot, it will be automatically rejected. States protect the voter registry information, so it's difficult to obtain, though not impossible. The second thing that you must do is you must obtain a ballot. This can be done by either forging a ballot or by stealing one. To forge a ballot, you have to print a ballot that exactly resembles the ballots used by the state, and you have to imprint on that ballot the serial number that is uniquely assigned to the voter that that ballot belongs to. This task is considered so difficult as to be considered impossible, but let's say for argument that you did obtain a machine to print ballots and you did obtain the numbers that are needed to verify a person in the balloting check system. Then if you're going to forge tens of thousands of ballots, or as President Trump has suggested in the case of Pennsylvania, possibly hundreds of thousands of ballots, then you must also intercept in the mail system the genuine ballots that will be coming in from people who have requested a ballot to vote by mail. Because each ballot that arrives is a tiny piece of evidence, and when thousands of them arrive, it is a very clear signal that the voting system has been tampered with. So let's steal a ballot. To steal a ballot, you must again interfere with the postal system, either stealing the ballots from the post office itself or directly from the mailboxes of the citizens before they reach them. And if you're able to accomplish this on a large scale, you also need to subvert the state systems which alert users that their ballots have been mailed to them, because users will notice when their ballots do not arrive and they'll begin complaining to the state. And there's a website that many states also have for validating whether your ballot has arrived and the state that it's in. You'd have to subvert that too. The third thing that you would need to do is you would need to provide the personal information on the ballot that proves that you are the person that the ballot belongs to. This is normally accomplished with a signature that is checked against a signature that is held on file for each person. Some states also require additional information, such as a social security number. These would be very difficult to obtain, and a signature would be difficult to forge reliably thousands of times. The fourth thing that you would need to accomplish is to somehow subvert the paper trail. Because remember, the voting system is designed to be audited. Even the electronic systems have paper printouts of the votes that are cast so that there is a paper trail for the votes. And when you have mail-in ballots, you have pieces of paper with signatures and numbers tying them to real people that can be followed and investigated to confirm whether votes are legitimate or not. Now, the fifth thing that you're going to need to accomplish if you want to commit fraud, if you want to mail in thousands of fake votes, is to convince dozens, possibly hundreds of your friends to risk jail time for you. Because remember, every single instance of voter fraud is a federal crime. So it is really, really hard to defeat the security of mail-in balloting. But you know what is not hard? Something that requires almost no effort and no skill is to cast doubt on the voting system. And that is precisely what our president is doing. He has been sowing the seeds of doubt for months. And now that the votes are coming in, he is using the natural disparity of the voting system, where certain types of voters and their votes will be counted earlier and others later. Just that's how the system works. He is using that to claim that the system is somehow not working or is somehow broken. These are false claims. There's no basis for them. He has no evidence for them. He is merely suggesting that to cast doubt on the system because it's a very easy thing to do and it plays to his favor. And I don't have to rely on hearsay or rumor to know that this is happening, because President Trump himself and his lieutenants have said as much in the previous several months that this is exactly what is happening. So this began several months ago as Trump and his campaign learned that many people would be voting by mail because of the pandemic. And at that time, Trump must have known what the plan was going to be at the time of the election, because that is when he began talking about the fraudulent nature, the corrupt nature of mail-in voting. This accomplished two purposes. The first is that it began to normalize the behavior that he would be displaying at the time of the votes. So people would not be shocked that he would be doing something that he said he would be doing. The second is that it encourages his followers. He's telegraphing a message to them saying, don't vote by mail, vote in person. If you support me, you won't vote by mail because it's corrupt. You'll vote in person. And this helps to ensure that there's going to be a large influx of Republican votes on the day of the election, and then there will be a large flux of Democratic votes after the day of the election. And so then Trump began announcing how he would be declaring the winner on the day of the election. And another thing he did to help this process along was to remove the leader of the postal system and replace him with someone of his own choosing, who began immediately changing the inner workings of the system to slow it down to help ensure that votes cast would arrive late. In addition to this, he and people loyal to him worked to deny requests to count votes early because they knew there was going to be heavy loads of votes. And this, again, helps to ensure that votes will arrive late, be counted late, so that on the day of the election, it looks like a Republican landslide. Then, days before the election, Trump announces that he is going to, without even knowing what the results are going to be, he's going to send in his lawyers to contest the results. Again, this is normalizing what would normally be considered very unusual behavior and preparing us for exactly what he's going to do and what he's done. So now we are in this situation where we're watching the results of the election roll in, and they're proceeding pretty much as we thought that they would. There was a huge bubble of Republican votes that looked like a Republican landslide. And as we began to count the votes, the legal and procedural votes that were cast through the mail system, these were predictably majority Democratic votes, and the results of the states began to change. And now Trump knows that the only way that he can win this election is not through legitimate means. He must win it through some other means that will disenfranchise millions of Americans. He is, right before our eyes, attacking the central institution of democracy, the ability of each citizen to cast a vote for who will lead them. He's doing this in his actions and also in just his language, claiming states, demanding that counts be stopped. Don't forget that he rushed through the approval of a Supreme Court justice, no doubt knowing that the Supreme Court may actually have to weigh in on who will win the election. And that is part of his strategy, which is very troubling, because our president is employing one of the three branches of government, which is meant to be a check on his power. But instead, he is employing it to cement his power. This is happening right in front of our eyes. Therefore, I am speaking up. I'm making my voice heard. This is not a political issue. This is an issue of the survival of our country. I'm not big into rumors. I understand that there's so many rumors flying around about everybody there. I don't buy into rumors. I just listen to what people say, and I watch what they do. If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it swims like a duck, it's a duck. Our president is acting like a king. He talks like a king. He has behaviors like a king. He takes the actions of a king. And the laws of our country were created to reject kings. And so I urge you to speak up and to make your voice heard and to reject this king. Now, if you like this video, don't share it. Make your own. This man, the president of our country, is attempting to usurp power. He is a tyrant, and he will not give up. He will use every means at his disposal to secure and expand his power every means. If there ever was a time for individual citizens to stand up and make their voices heard, it is now. Make your own video. Make your voice heard. Tell your friends and family where you stand. To my friends and family, I stand for democracy. I stand for the very laws that were invented to protect this country from would-be kings such as Donald J. Trump. Thank you.